Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with another section of my podcast, and today I'll be talking about something that's been in the media recently. So, when the Shador situation happened, it brought back the situation of having strong fathers in athletes' lives and being able to, you know, how the media paints them. So that got me back to thinking about LeVar Ball, who is a prominent figure in the media, especially as a father of athletes, and he had three sons who all played basketball at the college level. Two went to the league, um, and one became a music star. But he got a bad rap from the media as far as being, arrogant or cocky or they want to call him a helicopter dad and all these different things. But they even had me thinking at one point that he was, doing too much. His beef with LeBron and other celebrities. He might have been outspoken and might have spoken out of turn a couple of times, but his heart was in a good place, and that led me to believe the 5 reasons why LeVar Ball was never the villain. He was just painted that way. So I would get into the 5 reasons. Um, this is not one of the reasons, but he came into our lexicon around the time that he was talking on ESPN in an interview, and he said, "My son is better than Steph Curry." So a lot of people thought that insane. I still think it's insane, but nevertheless, having confidence in your kids is not insane, and it should always be that way to have confidence in your kids. Because if you don't have confidence in your kids, who will? And if somebody else does have confidence in your kids, uh, that is an easy road for people to manipulate them and do things like that. So I'm 100% in agreement with LeVar Ball did, especially as a black father, because we always get a bad rap. We always get the short end of the stick when it comes to parenting, and there's so many negative and untrue stereotypes about the black father. LeVar Ball definitely reinforced that that was a lie, and that the media wanted to try to paint it differently because they want to be able to manipulate, especially the black star, because they want to say, when contract time comes around, they don't want a strong father or somebody in the black kid's life that might influence them to not take these contracts and sign these slave deals that they're passing out. But getting back to the 5 reasons, LeVar was never the villain. Number one, well, not the number one reason, but the first reason, LeVar wanted independence for his children. So he wanted what every parent wanted for the child, any normal parent would want for the child, and that's, independence. So him coming out with the big baller brand shoes and clothing line, he wanted his kids to have his own, own thing and ownership, because most of these deals are predatory on young stars who would just, sniff at any dollar amount because they never seen that amount before. But LeVar taught his kids differently. He wanted something different for his kids. He didn't want his kids to be taken advantage of. And we also know that ownership breeds independence and independence breeds freedom. So when you have that freedom, you don't have to work yourself out of these bad deals and contracts and endorsements. And also in these deals, you can say the wrong thing and lose everything. But when you own your own stuff, you can control your own narrative and control. You don't have to live like that. Second reason, LeVar was a continuing face of what the owners hated. So they tried to make him the villain. They didn't want somebody outspoken and strong minded and very opinionated. They wanted you to stay in the background and just don't say anything. I.e. a Deion Sanders, i.e. a Earl Woods, who is Tiger Woods' dad, i.e. a Richard Williams, which is Venus and Serena Williams' dad, and others have this same face the same kind of scrutiny for being confident in their kids and talking about their kids' ability and want to be in their kids' lives. And the media and these owners try to put them to the background so they can try to be, so to speak, their fathers. Um, it was they painted them as distractions and nuisances, and we know that's wasn't always the case. It was what they painted is that way. The third reason, LeVar's attitude wasn't cocky; it was just right. As a parent, you have to have supreme confidence in your kids. Um, his What they saw as cockiness was just promoting his kid and trying to get his kid to where they needed to be. But of course, they're going to paint it a different way because they don't want the narrative in his favor. They want the narrative where they wanted him to be. But at the end of the day, he just wanted to be a father to his kids and make sure they had a success and make sure they got the right coverage. Fourth, Lavar showed his hand publicly and didn't cower. So this is a huge one. A lot of people talk about. Lavar actually said what he wanted for his kids. He wanted $1 billion for his kids. He wanted his kids to have their own deals and endorsements, and he wanted his kids to go where he wanted them to go. Um, and we talked about in the past whether you be an Archie Manning, which is Peyton and Eli's dad, Cooper's dad as well. Oliver Luck, who's Andrew Luck's father. Jack Elway, who's John Elway's father. They all made moves behind the scene to ensure their kids got to good organizations and teams in the NFL. And they didn't get a lot of scrutiny behind it because they did it behind the scenes. But Lavar never cowered. He did it in public and didn't hide his hand. And that's probably one of the, I don't want to say mistakes, but one of the flaws that he had, because if he would have did this behind the scene, they would have made it publicly anyway. So I don't even think it's a flaw. So they were going to do what they wanted to do anyway to paint him a certain way. But when you're the Mannings, when you're the Lucks, when you're the Elways of the world, you can do things like that, and it's just seen as just being a good father. But for Lavar, it was seen as he was being evil and he was being hard to work with. And lastly, Lavar proved to be right. So you can say what you want about Lavar's personality, but all his kids turn out to be productive. Melo is the superstar for the Charlotte Hornets right now, hundreds of millions of dollars. Lonzo Ball was very successful. Unfortunately, the ankle injuries kept getting to him. LaJello Ball released a hit song and signed a multi-million deal, hip hop recording artist. So all of his kids have been successful and made millions. They were huge celebrities in college and high school, and they did great things. They weren't in the media as much. They weren't, you know, all in the media for bad things, other than Jello that one time in China. But other than that, they weren't in and out of jail. They didn't have a bunch of kids around everywhere. They didn't, they wasn't doing bad things. They were very productive. And Lavar is what most people can hope a father can be. But he raised 3 millionaires and 3 celebrities. So he's 3 for 3. So you can't paint him as the villain, or if you try to paint him a villain, we know what you're trying to do. So, as always, until next time, I'll see you next time.